Now at 4, a live look at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where former President Trump officially became the Republican nominee for president 2 days after an assassination attempt against him. After weeks of speculation, Trump picked Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate. He noted Vance's time in the Marine Corps and his successful business career as some of the reasons behind the pick, saying Vance is, quote, best suited to assume the position of the Vice President of the United States. Vance was introduced as Trump's running mate today at the start of the RNC and is scheduled to speak on Wednesday. Trump's election caps what has been a remarkable rise for J.D. Vance. James Pilcher from our sister station takes a look at his career.
J.D. Vance was born in Middletown 39 years ago, raised in his grandmother's home here on McKinley Street. His family came from East Central Kentucky, moving north to get higher-paying manufacturing jobs at Middletown's then-booming steel plant. Vance declined interviews through his Senate spokesman ahead of his selection, and so did his family members in Middletown.
You know, I think the Vance story is a fascinating one, and it is, you know, it's going to be in the textbooks for a long time about, you know, how one can create a political career almost overnight.
Vance first shot into the national spotlight in 2016, when his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis, hit bestseller lists. The book tracks his family's troubled history dating back to the Appalachian foothills of Kentucky, his mother's issues with opioid addiction, as well as his reasons for the economic decline of working-class America. A 2020 Netflix movie based on his book included major stars such as Amy Adams and Glenn Close, and was directed by Ron Howard. It came out a year before Vance threw his hat into the ring to run for the U.S. Senate. Vance was seen as an outsider and was not even leading the polls for most of the 2022 primary. That changed when Trump endorsed Vance, a surprising move given Vance strongly criticized Trump when promoting his book 6 years earlier. Cedarville University history professor Mark Clausen says it was both a political calculation, but also a realization by Vance that the two had more in common than they thought.
He felt it expedient at the time, I think, to oppose Trump. And once Trump becomes more popular, he finds it expedient to go with Trump. And that makes perfect sense to do that, to the best of your ability.
Vance told me in May that he wasn't actively campaigning to be Trump's pick.
Certainly, as I said, I think it's important that we reelect him. If you ask me, I would certainly have to think about it seriously because I do want to help him. And I want to help him govern the country successfully. I want to help him become president. But I think that there's a really important role that I can play in the United States Senate.
The FBI believes the 20-year-old man who shot Trump Saturday acted alone, but they are still searching for a motive. ABC News is reporting the AR-15 that Thomas Crooks used in the shooting was bought legally by his father. His father let him use the gun after Crooks told him that he was going to a shooting range. Authorities found explosives in Crooks' car parked outside the rally, as well as his home in Bethel Park after he was killed. Law enforcement says the 20-year-old read, quote, some disinformation and conspiracy theories online, but nothing threatening. His high school classmates remember him as a quiet kid.
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast.
In my class, he didn't talk about politics. He kept to himself about that. And there was never anything negative that anyone had ever heard about him.
Authorities say Crooks is a registered Republican. He donated $15 to a progressive group in 2021 and had no military experience. Crooks' family is cooperating with this investigation. Pennsylvania's governor says the man killed at Saturday's rally died trying to protect his family. Governor Josh Shapiro says Corey Compatore was killed as he shielded his wife and daughter from gunfire. He served as a volunteer firefighter with the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Department for 30 years. President Biden and former President Trump both expressed their condolences to his family. 2 other men were shot at that rally. Tonight they are in stable condition. Developing at 4, the mayor of Aberdeen is apologizing for his controversial comments about the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Mayor Douglas Orr wrote on his Facebook page that the shooting may have been staged. KOMO's Jeremy Harris is live in Aberdeen. And Jeremy, these comments have created a firestorm there.
Well, they sure have. Mayor Douglas Orr made that post not long after the assassination attempt on Saturday. He took it down just a few hours later, but today it has caused quite the controversy here in Aberdeen. Now, I heard from several members of the city council today who called out the mayor and said his post was totally inappropriate and created division.
You know, you're representing the city of Aberdeen, and then you're going to put out something like that when someone was trying to take away someone's life?
Now, the rambling post from the mayor has made headlines around the world at this point. In the post, the mayor says someone should check to make sure the injury to Donald Trump wasn't self-inflicted, and floated the idea that it could have been done to garner sympathy votes. Now, coming up on KOMO News at 6 o'clock, I sat down with the mayor just about 2 hours ago and asked him about this post, what he was thinking when he made it, and his message to the people of Aberdeen who are upset with the mayor for bringing this attention here onto the town. You'll hear his answers, and you'll also hear his response to some of the criticism from the city council. For now, reporting live in Aberdeen, Jeremy Harris, KOMO News.
Jeremy, could the mayor suffer any consequences from the city for the now removed post?
Well, and that's a good question. The city council could potentially try to sanction him or something, but he told me he's heard from several people who say he should resign. He's only been on the job as mayor of Aberdeen for about 7 months now. He says he has no plans to leave office over this.
Jeremy, thank you. It has been an unparalleled 48 hours in recent American history, from the assassination attempt to the naming of a Republican vice presidential nominee. Our team coverage continues with Chris Daniels, who just spoke with Washington gubernatorial candidate Sammy Byrd. Chris?
Yeah, hi, Mary. Sammy Byrd said he had great sadness over this past weekend with the events that transpired, but his spirit is boosted by the announcement today.
Initially disbelief, and then I would say sadness. Many expected or have talked, mostly rhetoric, that, you know, and I've gone through it, where you vilify a person and you go dirty, you go nasty, you try to ruin a person's life, and you bring whatever resources you can to bear to do that. At what level do you stop descending into that darkness?
Republican gubernatorial candidate Sammy Byrd reflecting on the events of this past weekend as he continues to crisscross the state holding rallies. Byrd has maintained that he would not disparage other candidates during his campaign. He also enthusiastically is supportive of the Republican vice presidential nomination of Senator J.D. Vance.
An outstanding choice. J.D. Vance, former Marine military man. I like the diversity of his family. His wife, a brilliant attorney, Indian heritage. J.D., a Yale graduate, Juris Doctorate. He has a degree in business administration. So I always say, behind a strong leader is a strong family member. My wife is my backbone and support.
And I just spoke with State Republican Party Chair Jim Walsh, who is on the floor of the arena in Milwaukee. I asked him what he thought about Senator Vance. He says that Vance is, in his words, a great candidate with a sterling resume. You will hear more on that coming up tonight at 5.
Chris, what did Walsh say about security on site in Milwaukee, given the events just 48 hours ago?
Yeah, I talked to him on Saturday when events were canceled. Everything went off as planned. Today, on Monday, it's continuing right now, Mary. He did tell me he noticed an uptick in the amount of security, not only around the arena, but in downtown Milwaukee. He says that area is cordoned off by 6 to 8 blocks.
Chris, thank you. With voters set to go to the polls in November, we hit the streets to find out how they're reacting to the attempted assassination.
It's a shock, but no, I never thought that would happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, the way things are going, it does seem like people are pretty riled up about a lot of things. So I would try to look at it more as an individual's actions than a big meaningful thing. And yeah, it's scary to see.
That brings us to our KOMO Pulse poll. Has the attempted assassination of former President Trump changed how you plan to vote in November? This is a live look at the results coming in. 14% say yes, 84% said no, 2% still unsure. Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy will now get Secret Service protection. The move came as a directive from President Joe Biden following the shooting at the Trump rally. Kennedy is running as an independent. His father, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, was killed in 1968, the night he won California and South Dakota's Democratic presidential primaries. His uncle, of course, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in Dallas in November of 1963. A bombshell decision after a Florida judge threw out Donald Trump's classified documents case. Judge Aileen Cannon sided with Trump's legal team, which argued special counsel Jack Smith was unlawfully appointed and did not have the authority to bring the case. Cannon, who was appointed by Trump in 2020, ruled that only Congress can authorize Smith as special prosecutor and fund that investigation. The latest ruling overturns more than 30 years of precedent where the U.S. Attorney General appoints special counsel without congressional approval. Special counsel Jack Smith is expected to appeal the ruling. Stay with KOMO News and ABC News as we follow the latest developments on the assassination attempt of former President Trump. We will have updates for you on the air and always online at KOMOnews.com.